Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you very much for joining me here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking a look here, of course, at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on, helping you understand the best practices, the big picture, of course. I have over 17 years of trading, and I can tell you I've seen a few things in my day. And what we're seeing here today is pretty standard stuff. And I'll explain what I mean by that. Mostly just traditional markets having a bad day, Bitcoin following suit, erasing all of our benefit, you could say, for yesterday's gains, but on the same accord, also building a solid foundational base. And according to a few key indicators here, we're still looking quite all right. Okay, so I want to kind of touch on that. And if you are new to the channel, not a financial advisor, right? I love teaching people to trade. Truly hope you can learn something here today. My goal and my passion is to help you become a better trader. So I do have a trading university, trading community, as well as a signal group. I send out signals for every single trade that I take. We've been taking some pretty awesome profits here. Bitcoin long yesterday, of course, XRP shorts. Really, really good stuff. So be sure to check that out in your own time. But if you want to become a better trader, my university is awesome. I've had a lot of graduates recently. Check that out in your own time. Very last thing, of course, to check out is the transfer bonus, USDT for BitGet. If you register with them using this link before November 30th, you have an option to be able to benefit from that. All it requires is that you transfer funds over and that you trade with the exchange. Pretty simple, pretty straightforward. My favorite exchange by far, I use it over BitGet and KuCoin. Those used to be my favorites, and that's my new favorite. Really, really awesome. Absolutely worth checking out. So, what's going on with the big picture here? What are all these lines here? Let's talk about that. Because I did have a community member in one of our most recent, our roundtable discussions that we have weekly. What I did was listen to my viewers, of course, because I like to make sure that we are always adjusting and getting in good shape. Because I've been using fib circles for a while now, but I've never truly put them on the chart because I didn't want to confuse anybody. But in this sense here, just to kind of add some depth, I just want you to know that we did draw this out, the Fibonacci circle, from the highest point, of course, to the most recent lowest point. All right, so that's generally where this is coming from. So keep that in mind. That is essentially what we're looking at here. That's what these extra lines are, and they kind of help us understand where we're at, though, because you can see it working fairly consistent, right? The price action gets rejected by this Fibonacci retracement of 0.786, and of course, right here at the 1, we have this nice little support level. Okay, so there's a great chance that 18,000 should be the bottom. Okay. If we lose that, of course, there's absolutely a lot of range that we can see the price could potentially drop down. Obviously, it's not going to go down to 1,800, but generally speaking, this is the concept here. If we lose a support level, 14,000 I think would be realistic. But at this point, I think it's also very realistic to anticipate the price action holding sideways at the very worst and likely increasing once we break this trend line. If we can't break this trend line, we'll continue to make lower lows, all right? And more importantly, lower highs. The lower lows are what we're going to look for to try to see that change in momentum. And what I mean by that is we've already seen higher lows so far. So weird as it sounds, today's currently a higher low, and yesterday was basically a higher low. So I'll explain what I mean by that in the smaller time frame, but if you can kind of see here the candle wicks, they are essentially telling us that the price action is moving up. I know it's not a lot, but it is moving up. So the higher lows are an important start to that shift in momentum. All right, anyways, so that's kind of the whole preface there. Moving on to, so here, we don't want to worry about that. Let's go ahead and look at the RSI. And basically what we're looking at here for the RSI is we're still under 50. That's kind of the bottom line. We will be for some time, and until we break back up above, I would say 20,000 at the very least, we're going to still be considered bearish, all right? And when I say bearish, it basically just implies even if we were to break 20,000, we're not bullish, right? It doesn't just flip bullish because you no longer break a descending trend. What you want to focus on is how it becomes range bound, because there's 3 different ways in which the price action will continue. It'll continue lower. In other words, we see lower highs and lower lows, making a descending trend. You have a sideways action, basically range bound activity, which is commonly followed by what we're seeing here. If we were to break this trend, we're going to go sideways for some time. And then inevitably we have this ascending trend. That's essentially the third most beneficial one. That's where you can make the most money. Right now, it's kind of that, who knows what's going on? Is it going to go lower? Is it going to go sideways? That's basically what we're dealing with right now. I feel like the probability of it going lower is lowish. Again, this all depends on the traditional markets too. There's a lot of variables here. Because again, regular markets not doing so well. Struggle bust in the last 4 days in a row. And yesterday, Bitcoin did very well. It recovered. So that tells me a lot in the sense that even though we see a red day today, yesterday was a red day and a gap down from traditional markets, and we saw a green day from Bitcoin. That tells me that we have this strong amount of buying pressure at this level, and that's a very positive sign. Okay, so all in all, the overall sense here is that we're truly bearish, not looking great, but also, furthermore, still looking okay. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I think we're not in dire straits just yet. But we do have to recognize that the 50-day set moving average is working its way concurrent with this trend line. Very, very common characteristic for the 50. It oftentimes is a trend setter. So we can break up above the 50-day set moving average in the next couple of weeks. I think that would be a very big milestone to be able to have. Now, when I say big milestone, it's actually broken above the 50-day SMA previously. Okay, so again, it wouldn't necessarily mean that we are completely bullish. It just means that we've broken this descending trend. Okay, just get that in your head. We're still descending and essentially printing lower highs. All right, excuse me there. So, 4 hour. Hypothetically, we looked at a double bottom yesterday. All right. Well, I guess you could argue this is a triple bottom. No, not exactly. That's not how it works. But the bottom line is that we are still making higher lows. It's not fantastic by any stretch, but this is technically higher than this one. Again, that's absolutely a reach. Okay, no doubt about it. There's no silver lining here really. It just doesn't look good. Okay, period. The 4 hour time frame doesn't look great. But again, this is reflective of the current market and the way that the traditional markets are trading today. Okay, we can also see a MACD divergence here on the 4 hour. This really just implies that we should be opening a short position. Again, when I say should be, there's a lot of other factors you want to look at. We want to look at the 1 hour first and kind of see where we're at and other things. If we have additional confirmation, perhaps a short would be viable. But at this point, most signs are pointing down for the midterm here on the 4 hour. So not great by any stretch. Every single moving average is above the price action, working as a resistance. Okay, so doesn't look good. There's no doubt about it. No sugarcoating. Taking a look at the TD sequential though. Here is potentially a benefit, right? And this is why you look at all different time frames to identify a common theme. Because again, if you look at the large time frame and you only focus on that, then you're going to be bearish and you're going to miss the bullish little pushes, right? If you look at only the 4 hour, you're only going to be looking at a swing trading opportunities, and sometimes it's not always beneficial to understand just one thing. You don't want to be nearsighted. You look at the 1 hour time frame, this really helps you understand a little bit more along the lines of a shorter term hold and helps us know that we are overextended to the downside. So let's rewind. Bitcoin likes to come upwards or downwards to nines and then reverse itself, right? So we see here, came up to a 9, turned itself around. While it wasn't super strong, it came down to bounce off 18,800, a current support level. Price action comes up, we hit a 9. Big surprise, a couple of hours later, the price comes all the way down to another 9. So hypothetically, again, this is hypothetical, the price action could increase from here and hit another 9. But here's what I want to show you is the fact that this most recent low, the current price action is lower than the most recent low. That's establishing lower lows, right? And we're establishing lower highs. So this next push up has to be higher than this level in order for it to be a good continuation. So we need a 19,500 or higher, either closure on the daily today and or this weekend. Okay, and the reason why I say that is because obviously we want to break that trend. Furthermore, if this were to come up to just say another 9, the likelihood of it rejecting off 19,200 is great. So hypothetically, a short position at 19,200 would be an appropriate move, right? Once again, the reason why that's the case is because this most recent lower low is effectively lower than the previous. Okay, so generally speaking, those are the things that I like to look for. So that's where these 9s on TD sequential can really help you identify exhaustive periods. Because in truth, right now, the price should bounce and come back and recover because it's been just pushed down hard in the last 9 hours. That's not always the case either. I mean, prime example here, we take a look at Bitcoin. It was pushed down to a 9 and went basically 2x that 9 to the downside. Obviously, that was a pretty significant day, right? That was not the best day for trading. But, you know, if you kind of exclude these outliers here, for example, these 9s are being fairly consistent and telling us that it wants to turn around. Okay, so hypothetically, we could see the price action bounce. Also keep in mind, we could very well see consolidation, and the price comes back down again to retest 18,000. That's also a very strong possibility too, because Bitcoin has a tendency of hitting 2 9s in a row pretty consistently. It's doing that a lot. So in that regard, why are we going to put it past Bitcoin to continue lower? Well, it very well could. All right, so again, just some things to think about. Keep this in mind also too, though. Weekends are typically green when you have a strong red week. In other words, if we take a look at the daily, you can see here over the past X amount of days, we can see that we have a good amount of red, right? Ever since Monday, we've seen pretty much 3 or 4 out of 5 red days. So that sentiment in combination with the fact that we are over-exhausted to the downside at a 9 on TD sequential for the daily does lead me to believe we should see a green weekend. Is it going to be super strong? Probably not. But I wouldn't be surprised if Sunday night, evening here in the U.S., we see the Eastern markets open up and effectively pump the price action higher. And then based on the traditional markets, Monday come open, they'll either gap down and the price will come down to recover, or it'll gap up. All right. So again, we want to pay attention to those futures and kind of see what's going on. But generally speaking, at this point, Bitcoin is bearish. There's no other way around it. All right. So I wouldn't expect anything fantastic or phenomenal in the next 12-hour period, but I do speculate this weekend if we can close at least somewhere in the range of 18,800 today, we should have a likelihood of a potential increase tomorrow and Sunday. All right, that's all I got there for you. Hopefully you learned something here today. If you want to become a better trader, again, cryptocash.tech, attend my university, and obviously become a community member. We're all learning and growing together. We're taking some pretty massive profits too, so make sure to check that out in your own time. Once again, cryptocash.tech. I look forward to working with you. I hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one.